Okay. Let me know if we troubleshooted this and I got my mic working again. Okay, there's 2 people on. So how are we doing with the audio? I'm back. How are we sounding? Are we connected? Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay. I don't know what happened there, y'all, but we had no sound for a second. Okay. I am going to go ahead and start over because I'd love to not have that happen again. So we're just tuning in. We had to blame it on the new cat. I know one of y'all said, did Robert trip over the cord? And I was like, that made me laugh. And yeah, we do have a cat now. Robert is named Julia. And no, we don't have a new cat yet. Okay, so last book reading, we left it off. Robert and I had just got onto the Pacific Crest Trail. So I'm going to continue reading here from where we left off. And I wanted to dedicate this reading to Terry. So thank you so much. And of course, all y'all. Okay, so here we begin again. And I have to say, and now for your listening pleasure, March 12th, 2024. Miles hiked, 20. Stagecoach RV Park. We have 20 miles to the RV park, and we set a hard pace to make it before the store closes. There is so much wind, and it has not stopped since yesterday. We hike again in our jackets and do not take them off until late afternoon. Even as we ascend off the ridge, there is no respite from the wind. Robert gives me his gloves, and my nose becomes red from my constant wiping. The mountains are bare sand, with small, scraggly bushes that claw at my legs as we hike past. I am wearing my wind pants, and I am grateful that I have thought to put them on this morning. We meet Tim, a man from France, and Tristan, who was in the tent we set up near the previous night. We recognize his voice as the one cursing when his tent was torn down by the wind. The last 10 miles feel long. The trail is rocky and the wind irritating. Though I'm sure it is only because our resupply is ahead that it seems this way. Finally, we arrive at the road to the Stagecoach RV Park. There is a truck parked alongside the road, and the two men give us a hitch. The shop offers free ice cream, and we sit on the bar stools to eat them before we resupply. We set up our tent next to a tree, hoping it will help to block the wind. It takes us a long time. The wind turns the tent into a sail, and it becomes hard to stake it down. There is sand inside by the time we get it erected. Welcome to the desert. March 13th, 2024. Miles hiked, 17. Julian. Robert gave me earplugs to block out the sound of the wind, and I used my hat to cover my eyes. I've slept the best out of all the nights, whether from exhaustion or otherwise. The sunrise is beautiful, a blaze of red across the horizon. Makes me think of my mother and the phrase she used to repeat: red sky in the morning, sailors take warning. It strikes me that I haven't thought of her in some time. The pain of her memory is brief this time, the tinge of regret short, and then I move on to packing up our tent. It has been almost 10 years since she passed. Robert and I walk through the store a final time and share a cup of fresh coffee. There is a man leaving, and when I see him walking towards the open bed of a truck, I run towards him. I try to call out before running up, but he startles all the same. "Are you going to Scissors Crossing?" I ask, referring to the highway we hitched from yesterday. The man laughs as he clutches his chest. "Hop in the back," he says. I tell him there are two of us, but then Robert sees Tristan and No Fly walk out of the store. "Scratch that," I tell the man. "There are four of us." He laughs again, saying, "As many as can fit in the back." The four of us sit in the back of the truck bed. No Fly is grinning and taking pictures. "I've never driven in the back of a truck before. It feels just like the movies." She laughs nervously. "Are we going very fast?" she asks. "This feels very fast." In Julian, a town across the way, there is a pie shop that serves free slices to PCT hikers. When we arrive at Scissors Crossings, I decide I don't want to miss out on this. "Let's see if we can get a ride," I say as I stick out my thumb. It only takes a few moments. Punisher gives us trail magic of brownies and Rice Krispie treats as he drives us towards free pie. The road is windy, a bit longer than I expected, and I get queasy from the mountain curves. Julian is an old town, the only one in San Diego that was part of the gold rush. There's a brown slatted building that says Mom's, where pies and pastries can be seen through the window. Inside, there are banquet-style tables with several other hikers sitting with their backpacks. The slices of pie are delicious and come with a scoop of ice cream. Robert and I sit with Caddyshack, Tristan, and No Fly. We talk of the coming mountains, of the snow in the Sierra. "We're gonna want to wait until May," Caddyshack says as we speak of the High Sierra. "What are we supposed to do until then?" Tristan asks. The table is silent, and Caddyshack only shrugs. Robert and I catch a ride out of town with an elderly couple who tell us they have never heard of the PCT. "We're driving to see the desert bloom," the man says. He drives very fast. If I was carsick before, this is worse. Even Robert is nervous as he clutches my hand when the man takes a sharp turn. "Whoa! 20 miles an hour is a bit fast for these turns," the man says as he laughs and slams on the brakes. "Yeah, worse when you take him at 50, Robert whispers to me. It's mostly scary because we don't have seat belts with the animal cover on the back seat. At another turn, the man almost skids out and pulls hard into the other lane. "This car ride is probably more of an adventure than the one you're on," the woman says, which makes the whole scenario quite hilarious. Eventually, the car ride slows and the man asks why we are hiking the PCT. It's a harder question to answer than I had expected. "Well, it's good you're doing it while you're young," the woman pipes up. Robert nods before responding. "We say we're done every time we finish hiking. But then the itch comes back." "Wanderlust never leaves you," the man says. "It just gets buried." He pauses then, as if thinking how to finish. "By the world." We are back at Scissors Crossing by 12 p.m., and we hike the afternoon away. The trail climbs gradually, and it feels easy. The wind has thankfully died down, and the light breeze makes hiking the sunny desert pleasant. Robert tells me at the end of the day we've totaled 93.2 miles. Few days have gone by, yet the outside world seems to fade from my mind. The man's words from earlier caught me, and I think he was right. We camp on the edge of a ridge overlooking the layers of mountains in the distance. The sun sinks beyond, giving the desert a purple hue, painting the world with a perfect sunset. When the sun is gone, I can see my breath in the darkness, and the cold drives us inside. March 14th, miles hiked, 20, Ranchita and Warner Springs. Robert and I plan to stop at a small resupply store named Ranchita. It boasts of free rides to and from the trail. We catch up with No Fly and Tim and hike with them for a while. We talk of language, of different cultures, of France and Germany. When the four of us reach the trailhead, there are two others who ask to take the shuttle. 6 of us sit in the SUV like sardines, holding each of us holding our packs on our laps. There are rat traps on the floor of the car and rat poop on the seats. As we arrive, the weather turns and the snow spits out of the cloudy sky. Hail mixes with snow, and the cold breeze drives us inside. But there is nowhere to sit, and so the 6 of us simply wander around. The shop is tiny and expensive, but we're already here, and there are no other options, which leaves us feeling a bit conned. The afternoon is better, the high point in the curve of the day. Everything feels better when we're hiking. The sun appears from the clouds, and the weather turns brighter. Soon we are hiking through beautiful green pastures where large oak trees grow. It is perfect and lush, and we hike along a creek for miles. There is a community center in the small town of Warner Springs. The center has a bathroom, trash cans, water faucets, and picnic tables. Little things that feel like big luxuries. We make spicy ramen from South Korea as per the package. We bought them because they are more calories than regular ramen, but it is so spicy it is hard to eat. The paste is blood red and the water stains my fingertips. Robert and I only laugh, our lips burning and bellies full. We take a couple of pain relievers and continue hiking until dark. We hit 100 miles today. I am very tired tonight, and even as I write, I have no desire to recount our day. March 15th, miles hiked, 20. Morning. It rains in the night, a slow drizzle that drenches the ground. I wake at 6 a.m. and touch Robert's shoulder. Yesterday, we made plans to leave early. It's still raining, Robert responds sleepily and rolls over. I lay back down, and the slow drips of the rain lull me back to a half sleep. I wake again with the need to pee, the only thing capable of pulling me from my warm sleeping bag. The rain, thankfully, has stopped, and there's only the sound of small drops as they fall from the trees. It is cold, and I can see my breath as I dress. We sit in the warmth of the tent as we make instant coffee and each drink a cup of cold protein powder that tastes like watery chocolate milk. The rain kept me up, Robert says. Me too, I reply. I had forgotten how loud the sound of the rain is when sleeping outside. It takes us extra time to get ready, and I have a headache. I sigh several times as this and that go wrong. A missing sock, forgetting something packed in the bottom of my bag. Little irritations that make for a long morning. Though I have promised never to say it, the words slip from my lips without control. I want to go home. Me too, Robert says with a sigh. Then we pack up our belongings and begin to hike. Evening. Today was hard and made me feel very unprepared for what is coming. In the afternoon, we get a small bit of sunshine, and thankfully Robert makes us stop to dry out our tent. It is the only sun we will see. It rains again in the afternoon, a constant drizzle that slowly soaks. We climb an elevation all day, and it gets colder the higher we climb. We begin to see little patches of frozen snow on the ground. The rain turns to hail. It assails us, falling down so heavily it coats the trail like snow. The path is overgrown, and the wet bushes soak through our pants. We are hungry, drenched, and cold. The day is closing, a hint of the evening darkness in the sky. Yet we both know we must get off the mountain before we camp. I can feel the temperature dropping, and even more I can feel Robert's worry. This is the first time I have ever worried about hypothermia. I think Robert does too because he looks back more frequently, speaks to me more often, and asks if I'm okay. Finally, we are off the ridge, and there's a break from the rain and the snow. We see 4 other tents camped between bushes. A man's voice calls out from inside. "Do you have any hot cookies?" All Robert and I can do is laugh. We put up our tent, strip our wet clothes, and heat water for food. Tomorrow is most certainly going to be another cold day. March 16th. Miles hiked. 20. Paradise Valley Cafe. It feels like the cold ground seeps in through the pads we sleep on. The alarm on my watch tells me it's 5 a.m. We had said we wanted to get up early so we could get to Idlewild before dark. "Baby," I say, aiming to find his cheek, which is buried in his coat and his sleeping bag. Our pack up is slow, and I'm glad we started early. It always takes extra time when everything is wet. I put on some water for coffee, the last of what we had collected. I fight the dread I feel before putting on cold socks and clothes. Afterwards, we rush to pack up our dripping tent, slinging wet backpacks over our shoulders, and begin the long trek to Paradise Valley Cafe. Robert leads us, setting a hard pace because he is cold, but so am I. We jog down the hills and speed hike up them. We are out of water, only a single sip left. Let's hike till the next water source before we take a break, Robert says, and I nod in agreement. Neither of us want to check how many miles that actually is. There's a long moment where I think only of the trail ahead and how ill-prepared I feel for snow. What the hell have we gotten ourselves into? Combined with today's long miles and our very little food, I'm beginning to wonder if we can finish this trail. We hike out of the creek bed where we have collected our water, and suddenly there is a car with folding tables set out in front. I think I stopped breathing for just a second. I tell myself it's a group of hunters setting up and definitely not trail magic, but it is. The prospector, who has set up this magic, tells us he looked at the weather report last night and saw what all the hikers had been through. It is so unexpected, so random, and he has brought so much. Pizza, donuts, sodas, beer, and a bottle of whiskey. Because although most of us have forgotten, St. Patrick's Day is tomorrow. We are all in an open, grassy plain, and for a moment the sun is shining. There are other hikers, and we all set out our tents and coats to dry. Here you go, Prospector says, holding something out to me. I take the small gift from his hand. When things start to suck, let it be a reminder that you're on an adventure, and you chose this, he says, smiling. Out here in the middle of somewhere and nowhere, Prospector has given me a piece of gold, and I pin it on my hat. It is the size of a quarter, yellow, with black bold letters reading, "This is an adventure." Today has completely shifted everything because someone did the same for me, he says, explaining why he set up this magic. It's a simple answer, yet it speaks of so much more. Trail magic can be the turning point in a bad day, a small act of kindness that can keep one going when they want to quit. It's camaraderie to help carry the load. Robert and I have 10 more miles, but they go easy after the trail magic. We hike into higher elevation towards the San Jacinto Mountains. It begins to rain again, a drenching cold. What are you going to get on your burger? Robert asks as we slide in the mud, rainwater dripping from our hoods. I think back to the trail magic, and I'm once again grateful we had time to dry out our tent. Bacon and cheese, I respond. We see a road and think that finally it must be close, but we have one last mile that ends up feeling the longest in the cold rain. We are inside Paradise Valley Cafe. It is warm, and the server smiles as she seats us. I order hot coffee and gulp the water they bring because we've gone 6 miles without. We order a plate of nachos and 2 hamburgers and eat it all. When I come back from the bathroom, I see Kate and Mike, a couple we met at the trail magic today. They are sitting with an older man, Frank, who we soon meet. Frank calls himself an archangel. He tells us right away he hates water, is 86, though he hardly looks it, and offers us a ride into Idlewild. The ride will cost you 50 cents, he jokes. Katie and Mike tell the story of meeting Frank. I thought he needed help, Mike explains, of seeing an old man passed out in a driver's seat at a trailhead. I fell asleep while reading, Frank laughs. I was waiting for you all. Tomorrow we will talk to the rangers about the San Jacinto Mountain Pass. Tomorrow we will learn how much it snowed. For now, Frank drives us to the campground in Idlewild. I have been writing at night as Robert paints. We sit hunched over in our tent, headlamps strapped to our foreheads until late into the night. March 17th, Idlewild. Miles hiked, 0. Katie and Mike skip ahead to the desert. In the beginning, Robert and I were aiming to complete the PCT in 4 months. Today, all of that has changed, the pendulum swinging. The San Jacinto Mountain Range lies ahead, where we must summit 2 passes that sit over 10,000 feet in elevation. It feels as though the conversation of other hikers have always been about the conditions in the San Jacinto Mountains and those who have died. You are too early, day hikers told us yesterday afternoon. Prospector tells us to skip ahead north, to flip-flop and hike south. All this talk had felt abstract because it was always in the future, and we kept telling ourselves we would figure it out in Idlewild. Now we are here. Our goal from the beginning, not to flip, not to skip, but a true through hike, south to north. Perhaps that is no longer possible. Perhaps we are too early. There is no denying that the spring snowstorms we just hiked through have made conditions dangerous. We walk to the camp station and buy tokens for showers. We walk down the road and wash our clothes at the laundromat. We walk to the ranger station and they give us a website, a man who posts daily updates on the mountain's conditions. 2 weeks won't make a difference, the ranger says when we talk of skipping ahead to the desert and coming back. A lot of hikers are taking the Black Mountain Road, skipping the pass. We take the information they give us and say we will decide later. Though Robert and I have talked extensively about our future of our hike, we have nothing figured out before breakfast. Frank has offered to take us out and picks us up from the campground at 10 a.m. I can take you to Tehachapi, Frank offers. Sharing breakfast with Frank is comfortable, and I feel at home speaking with him. He spends the morning telling us stories of small mountain towns and stories of other hikers he's met. Afterward, Frank invites us to dinner. Robert and I are back in our tent, lying side by side, discussing our next steps. Robert is pushing us to continue forwards and hike up the mountain. He's confident we can make it, but I'm afraid. So we argue or discuss, or whatever word is more correct for what we do. Eventually, Robert looks at the website the ranger gave us and begins to read. The trail conditions: packed ice covered by feet of fresh snow, microspikes not equipped, snowshoes and crampons recommended. There are no footprints over the pass. Robert stops reading. It is a hard decision not pressing forwards, and it feels like quitting at the first challenge. The words of the day hikers we met yesterday come back to me. No ascent is worth dying for. There is silence as Robert and I absorb what he just read. We will be too early for the Sierra, Robert whispers, and it feels like defeat. It is as everyone has been foreshadowing. We are too early. By the end of our conversation, the only thing we have decided is to spend another day in Idlewild. March 18th. Miles hiked. 0. It snowed again last night. We've made no decision despite going back and forth for hours. We've thought of restarting and again in Campo, returning home, and even beginning a different trail. Like us, other hikers trickle into Idlewild and get stuck here. 2 nights have gone by. No one has an answer to the questions all of us are asking. We go to the pastry shop early and get coffee. I want to paint all day, Robert says. But instead, we spend the morning talking. We call Robert's sister, looking for some outside perspective, another voice in the mix. I think we are just looking for someone else to tell us what to do. Frank takes us to the post office, and we ship our bear canisters 600 miles ahead to Crumpy Bears in Kennedy Meadows South. Bear canisters are only required through the High Sierra. Afterwards, Frank takes us to dinner at his favorite Italian restaurant. The lighting is low with small tables and tight corners. He asks what we have planned, and we have no answer for him. I'm ordering a bottle of champagne for your anniversary, Frank says. He's going above and beyond, and we tell him as much. March 19th. Miles hiked. 0. It has rained all day, and we know it is snowing on the San Jacinto Mountains. I wake with the feeling that Robert and I have failed. Our tent is a mess, our belongings scattered like yard sale. What are you thinking about? Robert asks. I'm thinking of going home and restarting the trail again at a later time, but I won't say this aloud. Yesterday, we walked to the thrift store with the thought of looking at snow gear. I wander around until I found snow pants, and all the while my thoughts were racing. I was thinking of summiting snowy mountains with heavy gear, as if I'm some sort of mountaineer, but I'm not. A hiker told us over pizza, "My friend is bringing me snowshoes, boots, and crampons." Another said, "I'm thinking of staying in Idlewild for a month." And we've heard it repeated several times. I'm skipping to the desert. I've stared at the pants so long, the woman asks if I would like to try them on. I just turned away, realizing that I don't want this. Robert and I leave the rainy tent in search of coffee. There are other hikers about, and we run into Tink Tank. What are you doing? The question of the ages. She tells us she used to live in Alaska, that she hiked the High Sierra a few times before. She tells us she is going forward. We were thinking of going to the Arizona Trail, I say. Her response is quick. I'd be jealous if you did. That sounds like a good idea. It's relieving to hear her say as much. In 2022, Robert and I hiked most of the northern section of the Arizona Trail, but we went home 300 miles before the end. That is why Robert first suggested Arizona. We could finally finish the AZT. Frank picks us up again, and we go to his house to make him breakfast. Robert cooks country potatoes and 3 different omelets. Frank has set the table for breakfast, 3 crystal champagne glasses filled with orange juice. We are going to Arizona, Robert says. How will you get there? Frank asks. Rent a car, Robert says. Frank sniffs silently, says, Well, you're going to think I'm crazy, but how about I take you? Frank drops us off so we can pack our things. We will stay at his house tonight. Jeff is here, another hiker who shares his cookies and pizza with us. Well, Jeff sighs, I've been thinking of going to Arizona. It's serendipitous, and we tell him of Frank. We're sitting at the community picnic table. Robert is painting while I write. Another hiker walks up. No nonsense. She's been staying at this campground for 5 days, waiting. We have a free ride to Arizona. Do you want to go? I ask. I call Frank. How about 2 more hikers for Arizona? Frank's voice is easy. It's all the same to me. And when I ask him twice, he cracks a joke. Tell you what, let's bet your life on it. I'm serious. What a thing we've gotten ourselves into. Arizona, March 20th. Miles hiked. 2. I sit in a car with 5 people, Robert beside me, and all of us on our way to Arizona. Last night we played cards over dinner. Frank, Jeff, Robert, and I. Frank teaches us a new card game, like Rummy, but with more decks. On the second round, I begin dinner. It's simple, skillet-cooked chicken, white rice, and salad, but it feels good to cook. Frank pours us each a glass of wine, deep red that shines purple in the light. In the morning, I wake at 4 a.m. I haven't slept well. Funny, because I'm finally in a bed after almost 2 weeks of sleeping on the ground. I hear Frank walking overhead, the floorboards creaking in the dark. I get up. I relish the ease of running water, a hot shower, a simple press of a button that makes fresh coffee. It's always a perspective switch coming from the trail, like seeing the world in color for the first time. How can anyone complain? Yet I do. We do. Frank has set the table for 4 and cut a bowl of fruit. The coffee has finished brewing, and I grab one of the bright red mugs. Do you want an English muffin or biscuit? Frank asks. On the table, he has set out almond butter, cream cheese, and jam. You know, almond is better for you than peanuts. Frank winks at me. He's forgotten he's already told me this. Frank opens the trunk of his car and places our packs inside. A single memory of my grandfather shimmers. He tells me we must do the rain dance to open the trunk. He holds my hand and we dance until the trunk goes pop. I stop every 2 hours to stretch my legs, Frank says, and I smile at him fondly. We've set out before sunrise. Frank drives fast down the windy mountain road. If you start to get sick, just tell me to slow down. The city of Palm Springs is covered in a blanket of black, tiny dots of sparkling lights. The rocky San Jacinto Mountains are a dark outline against the blue-black sky. Stopping the PCT to go to Arizona feels bizarre, but 2 other hikers are doing the same as us. The conversation over last night's dinner struck me. Jeff looked up, the hands holding his playing cards bent slightly at the knuckles. He smiled, the deep lines of his crow feet so prominent they almost swallowed his eyes. It doesn't matter what. We're on an adventure. Frank drops off No Fly at a hotel, then drives the rest of us to resupply at Walmart. Robert tells me I worry too much, but I tell him I worry enough for the both of us. My sister texts me, "You're so amazing and brave," but I don't feel either today. We break down our resupply, Robert and I filling. Okay, I'm live. Hopefully that unfroze me. Sorry for the technical difficulties, y'all. But I did finish that journal reading. And if you'd like to go back and hear that last paragraph, I was just finishing up when I froze. We just made it to Arizona. And I just wanted to thank you all so much for tuning in. I loved Lisa's comment. Today's narrative proves the value of a stranger's kindness and the importance of ignoring self-doubt. Thank you for the reminders. That was, I just did another live event yesterday, like in the live, and I did a poetry reading, and a couple people asked what was a big thing that I learned about myself on the Pacific Crest Trail. And that was one of the things that I talked about, was just like ignoring self-doubt. Yeah. And the kindness, just of like how many people that I didn't know thought it was important that we made it to Canada. Like so many people and they were just strangers. And for whatever reason, they thought it was important that Robert and I made it. And I felt like each time that happened, it was like, it was like a hand reaching out. It was like a push forward. It was like a pacer coming. It was just like, yeah, all these people think it's important that you go, and you can't let them down now because they're rooting for you now. Terry, we love your style of writing and wonder if you ask Robert for his opinion like he asks you about your thoughts on his painting. You ask Robert his opinion like he asks you about your thoughts on his painting. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. First off, thank you for saying that. Yeah, oftentimes, he does ask me, and oftentimes I'll read it and he'll be like, "Wow." Um, Most of the time he was like, "You described that perfectly," or "That was exactly how that felt," or whatnot. Okay, y'all, we are gonna close it out for that. Thank you all so much. Also, Terry, that reading was for you. So thank you so much. All right, y'all. This I will make another announcement, but I love this Tuesday time slot. So I'm thinking that I'm sorry, we're on Wednesday. Wednesday. So next Wednesday we'll do a live book reading, but I will make sure to post about it on the community page as well as like the next video that we do. But there will be another live reading next week. That's all right. You were not late. You showed up. Oh, you are so welcome. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this, and we will see you next time. Thank you so much, y'all.